What's up, YouTube fam? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I know what you're probably thinking when you look at the balance and you see 20,500. You're probably like, oh, Jared, you must be happy. Looking at it, you were at all the way down to 16,000 at one point this week, 17.2, and now you're at 25. You must be ecstatic. Well, you would be absolutely wrong, right? Because I made some mistakes that have been so, consequential to this account, and I want you guys to learn from it. So this video is going to be how to roll correctly, what I did wrong, mistakes I made, and just letting you guys see, what happened and how I cost myself roughly $5,000. So let's get into it. Okay. So as you see, this cash secured put on roll on Connell. We'll just look at it right. I rolled this that was expiring literally yesterday morning, right? And it was at $9.45. And if we go and look at how much those puts are worth at this moment, right, just because I love torturing myself and I want you guys to be able to torture me too. It's at $2.40. Oh my God, my stomach just hurts saying it. So let's just do the math, right? What is 950 minus 250 is 7, right? So 700 times by 4 is ultimately, that's 2,800 that I cost myself right there. Then if we go and we look at RGTI, which was the other position that I also, messed up on and closed a little early. It's at 520 and I closed it at the same price of $9.50, and I'll show you guys right now. Boom, closed it for $9.50, as you can see. So that was also for so 2,000 roughly, or 1,200. So it was like 3 or 4 grand. I don't know. I don't feel like doing the math right now, but as you guys see, I had 2 options that would have been expiring today. I wanted to get ahead of myself. I closed one, I rolled the other, and ultimately it was extremely costly. Now, why was it so costly? The reason being, right, is that the closer you get to expiration, the more volatile the options get. So in our case, as someone who sold puts, wanting it to go up, as it gets closer to expiration, right, and the stock goes up, those puts lose value extremely fast. Almost like, obviously in this case, I'm holding these now for another month, which, looking back at it, I probably listen, there's probably a lot of things I shouldn't have done since starting this channel. And every trader has goes through these phases, right? I'm just happening to do it publicly. But the point is, I probably should have waited on both of them. That was the original plan, was to wait till get closer to expiration, because the reality is, when it's expiration, like, it can be months. You can hold an option for months, right? And it won't move, because the closer it gets to expiration, the more volatile, the more it moves. So, a month of holding could really be worthless. So this is why I don't really like to sell options more than 2 weeks out, because 2 weeks, yes, you're giving yourself time and it's great. There's benefits to it, but it's like, a month out, these options aren't going to move much. Obviously these ones I'm in, they're up, right? Like I'm up $1,000, cool. And in this one I'm up, $90, great. But, when if it makes the move that it's made, and I had options that were closer to expiration, which I did, I would have been up 3, 4, 5,000. So, ultimately the reason why I did it, which I explained in the video yesterday, was this candle was not closed, but it was fully, it wasn't a hammer, right? It looked more like this. And what I was doing was I was preparing myself for, there's a lot of technical analysis you could do, right? If you looked at the fibs, it looked like a perfect fib retracement. If you looked at, if you play supply and demand, it was a perfect, supply that could have held, right? So there was a lot of technical analysis I was looking into, and this is what makes something like trading so difficult, right? Is in the moment, you think it's going to retrace and fall, and guess what? Bitcoin could have easily fallen back down here. At that point, I wouldn't have been able to roll. So what I was doing was I was getting ahead of the game, because, and again, I explained this all in yesterday's video, that if Bitcoin did reject, I would have had the chance to get assigned, in a month for shares that would have been at $38 as a cost basis. When I originally opened these Connell position, it was at $60. So it was all the way up here, and the fact is that I was like, damn, let's just say Bitcoin does continue to fall, I'll be able to get in for a cost base of 38. So instead of buying for 60, I would have been buying for 38. So I was really trying to just be safe and build a genius position that ultimately I could have rode back up and then gotten this account to 40, plus thousand in 6 months, which, again, people are saying 100% a year is impossible. If you roll down, get a great entry and ride it back up. I mean, listen, I'm not going to start flexing on you guys, but 100% a year, it's not even me flexing. There's so many things you can just buy and hold and get 100% a year, right? Obviously, 100% a year in terms of just selling premiums is going to be very difficult because, most of the time when you sell premiums collect premiums, you're only going to collect maybe 5 to 10% a month. And that's if you're going extremely volatile. So yes, just collecting premium 100% a year is going to be very challenging because you're going to have to do volatile things. But when you account for rolling down, getting assigned, and then holding, I think 100% per year is actually very easy. Matter of fact, I've been able to do 100% a year, not every year, but I've been able to do 100% over the last year just by holding crypto, right? And there's people that have just been holding XRP that are 400% a year. So, yes, we're talking about doing it more consistently. And maybe, every single year you're not going to do 100% per year. But 50 to 100% per year selling options is extremely reasonable if you want my honest opinion. And I think a strategy like what I did with Connell, where, I opened this position, it was up here, rolled down, and my thought process was like, oh, if it dumps again, then, I'm getting assigned here at 38, basically was my cost basis. At that point, you hold for a couple weeks to a couple months, and, it wouldn't be so challenging. Now, again, maybe I was being a dreamer, right? I was just trying to be safe, which ultimately the safety is what cost me 5K. And that's what's funny about the markets, right? Is like people that have safe strategies, they're content, but they don't realize that since the market is so infinite, right? It's like you're always costing yourself something, right? If you do something that you think is right, you could always be costing yourself more money. Now, in the end of the day, I do believe looking long term and thinking about what's safe long term is always the best way to go about it. So in this moment, right, even though this position isn't paying off, I'm sure in my option selling journey, there will be a time where it does reject, and doing something like what I did will pay off. So it's probably not gonna change my future decisions as much. I do think rolling on expiration date is important. Obviously, it's just the options just get so volatile, which allows you to ultimately make a month's worth of gains in a day. Where now I'm stuck holding this for a month. Now I don't need to hold it for a full month, obviously, especially if crypto continues to go up. If Connell does continue to go up, then these options will lose value very quickly. This one I definitely won't be holding. I mean, obviously it's so far out of the money that, the delta is not even a 10. So, that's the other thing, right? The delta is so low, this one's barely going to move. And obviously this one, the delta is, it was at like 50 when I opened the position. Now it's at 35, which is good, right? You want delta to be decreasing with your options, but as delta decreases, that means you're getting less movement per point. So, there's a lot of ways to look at it. Ultimately, I'm very happy to at least be out of the money. I've been in the money on Connell for months. So now hopefully this month can just be straight out of the money and it can just keep going up. I can get out quicker, right? I don't even think I need the full profit on this position, right? I'm pretty eager to ultimately start using other strategies and playing, something like TQQQ for many reasons, as I've discussed on this channel. If you want, go find those videos and look into them. I do think ultimately I will need to keep the portfolio with a little bit of risk, although I don't know, right? Because TQQQ does offer good enough premiums, in my opinion, where, one side of me is like, I can probably just go all in on that symbol, being that it is an index, and the other side of me is like, I'll probably want to still do other things as well. Listen, guys, that's the beauty of this game, right? Is you're the artist, you can paint the canvas, right? Like TQQQ is something I'll feel comfortable playing in the money or at the money. I know in my example videos I showed out of the money because I want to be a good example, but for instance, right, let's just say we sold in the money puts for next week, right? And with my account size, we did 2. If I didn't roll, I could have done 3. 700 a week is obviously phenomenal. Now, let's just assume it went down and TQQ went all the way to 78 that week. What's awesome is the rolling is so great on it, right? Like, look at this. This at 232. Ideally, if it did dump next week, I'd be able to get at least to, 80 or 79 and a half. Why? Because again, when you roll, you want to always make sure you're rolling into something more expensive, right? So obviously being that this is at 232, and of course, obviously the prices change as the options go down. But the point I'm making is like, you can pretty much always roll on a stock, especially a index, right? Stocks like RGTI, Connell, things that might dump 60%, it would be a lot more difficult to roll because the deeper in the money, the less it will move in that regard. So yeah, listen, there's a lot that goes through my mind. Obviously, the fact that, I'm doing all this publicly, there's a lot of opinions thrown at me. I try not to let anything get to me, but ultimately, sometimes you want to read a comment and say, you know what, maybe that guy's right, right? Sometimes you want to actually agree with someone and then you do it. Other times you want to read it and you say, listen, I don't want to just listen because someone else is telling me. So it's very hard to ultimately make the right decisions, right? And that's why ultimately I have to just keep the blinders on. Now with all that being said, obviously, would I want to roll a month out? No. Like Connell, unfortunately, doesn't have weekly options, which is another mistake I've just made getting involved in this. It's funny because, like I said, I could have just waited till today and I'd be in a much better state, but I wanted to be safe. And safety just doesn't always pay. A lot of times, believe it or not, safety actually costs you more than you realize. Let's not forget the shares that I bought at 38. I sold them for $200 profit, which was great, but obviously now I'd be up 700. This mindset, unfortunately, in the long run will kill you, right? I'm sure if you're watching this, hearing me complain about, mistakes I made, you're probably thinking that, especially if you're an advanced trader, knowing that mindset will kill you. But in the moment, it is very tough to swallow. Listen, I'm not going to let it ruin my life. Ultimately, this is what I love about option selling is a lot of times the mistakes you make, you're still profitable. Like, obviously, we started this challenge at 20,000. We took it from 20,000, all around the world, right? At this point, we've taken it to 25, to 17. Now we're back at even. And I've made every mistake in the book. So to even be here, I'm pretty happy about that, right? Because I could be at 16, 15,000. But again, I've cost myself. At this point, between my entire trading career, I've cost myself in an amount that's impossible to count, right? Hundreds and hundreds of thousands, millions, and everyone can say the same, right? Like, if you were born 25 years ago and you're worth 20 grand and someone else is worth 5 million, you could, it depends how you look at it, right? You could be inspired, like, oh, we're the same age, he's a millionaire, or you can get depressed over it. Oh, I wasted my time. Or you could be someone who just doesn't care, right? It's all about perspective. So, I can look at this and be like, oh, my account could be at 24, 25K and drive myself nuts. I could look at it and be saying to myself, oh, I could be at 16K and just be extremely thankful. Or I could just choose the route of not caring. And I think, listen, today, obviously the day of, it's going to sting more. But as time progresses, I definitely will allow it to not affect me. Ultimately, I hope you guys learned from this video why you should. So I know that you don't want to wait until, late in the day Friday to roll because there's a high chance of assignment. But for the most part, you should definitely be waiting until the day of to roll. Obviously, I went the day before and you guys see how costly it is. So I just want you all to learn from it, right? I've been trying to teach on this channel. I've been trying to do the best to make sure you guys can learn from my good decisions, my bad decisions. And I hope that you've been able to do just that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you're getting a good laugh at me, getting some entertainment, right? Maybe you're eating some popcorn while watching this. But again, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a lot. Make sure to like, make sure to comment your thoughts because I read everything. Every single reply is me. I read every single comment. I enjoy it. I appreciate it. If you want more content, if you want to see where I end up taking this account, as always, every position is documented. And not only is every position documented, but I've been in positions for months and I've still managed to continue making videos. So not only am I documenting positions, I'm keeping you guys updated as good as I possibly can while not even taking positions. So again, if you want to see where I take this account, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll see you guys probably Tuesday is when I'll probably be dropping the next video. We have a 3-day weekend, so enjoy Monday. I know as traders, we hate having 3-day weekends. We love, being able to trade. We hate weekends in general, right? But make sure to enjoy it, guys. Do something fun. Don't sit around all day. If you've had a red week, don't be depressed. Enjoy the weekend. I'll see you guys Tuesday for the next video.